So one of the activities that we did this week during our live class session was a Think Aloud. And I wanted to record a demonstration of this activity so that everybody was familiar with the demonstration, even people who weren't able to attend the live class session this week. So one of the slides that we had in our PowerPoint, after we did kind of a group reading activity, I had this slide called Think Aloud. What is a Think Aloud? A Think Aloud is a demonstration of the metacognitive strategies the demonstrator is using to understand a text they are reading. And then I stopped and I asked people about that word metacognitive. Is that like a new word for people? In one of the classes, I said, raise your hand if this is a word you've never seen before or a new word. So let's stop and talk about that. But the fact that you recognized that was an unfamiliar word, that in itself is metacognition, right? So metacognition is thinking about your thinking. What are you thinking as you read something? What are you thinking as you look at something? What are you thinking as you're thinking? So the definition is it's the activities that plan and monitor and assess thinking or cognition. So metacognition is thinking about thinking. And some metacognitive strategies include um, identifying when you have a problem, making connections between different things, trying to visualize, making some predictions. So figuring out kind of where you are in a text and then thinking about what's going to happen next. And so this metacognitive bookmark is posted in Pinterest. I have a Pinterest board on a couple of different topics. I have one on each of the systems that we study in 137 and 139, but I have a board that's called Learning, and so this is in that board on Learning. And this is a bookmark that you can actually print out and keep in a physical book, or you can just keep it handy because these are examples of different strategies that you can use as you're reading to check for understanding, and then things you can do when you know you don't understand something. Okay. These are the kind of metacognitive strategies that I'm going to demonstrate in the Think Aloud activity. Okay. So here's the section of the text that I use for the Think Aloud. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and start doing the demonstration. Growth and development. So this is bolded. This is a heading. And in the context of the entire reading, the beginning said these are characteristics of living organisms. Let's see if viruses have these different characteristics, because the article is trying to figure out, are viruses alive? Every different species of living things has a particular pattern of growth and development. Okay, I see growth and development listed here. I see growth and development listed here. So it's probable that they're really making the distinction between these two words. They're saying that these two words mean different things. Growth probably means like to grow to get bigger, and development probably means it changes over time. So let me read ahead and see if there's more information in the text that will help me to figure out why they're making such a distinction in this reading between growth and development. Growth and development may seem like very similar terms, but they're actually quite different. Okay, so they're being very explicit here and saying that these two terms are different. Growth simply refers to the increase of size and mass over a period of time. Growth occurs through a cell division process known as mitosis. Okay, so I was right when I said get bigger. So growth here is talking about the increase of size and mass. And in living things, I guess, growth occurs through a cell division process called mitosis. Now for Bio 139, that's going to be a familiar term. We've already talked about mitosis in Bio 137, but the Bio 137 class isn't there yet. So there's connections that some people can make based on that word. Okay. During mitosis, one cell splits into two duplicate cells, adding mass to the body. Okay, so since you have twice as many cells, then it adds mass, weight, I guess, to the body. This process allows all body parts to grow the size appropriate for the individual. Okay, so the growth part, all of these sentences are talking about the growth part. They apparently haven't gotten to development yet. So I might have to read on to learn about development. But as far as growth, growth is getting bigger and heavier, and that happens by mitosis. Development is a broader term for the transformations or changes in an organism throughout its entire lifespan. So it talks about transformation and it talks about change. So my guess was right. My prediction was right. And it happens across the entire lifespan. But doesn't growth happen across the whole lifespan too? So that might be something that they have in common. For example, a moth has several developmental steps during its life cycle, such as egg, larvae, cocoon, and adult moth. A human's development includes fetus, baby, child, and adult. Viruses use host cells by manipulating them into building new viruses. Each individual virus is created in its fully formed state and will neither grow in size or develop within its existence. Okay, so I didn't see a real smooth transition from the development part to the virus part, so I need to go back. But these few sentences were talking about development as a change in an organism, because like a fetus is different from a baby, different from a child, and different from an adult. And then they switched to talking about viruses. And it says it uses a host cell, so it's not a cell itself, but each virus doesn't get bigger or doesn't change, doesn't develop within its existence. Okay, so that's an example of what a Think Aloud demonstration goes like. So the demonstrator will be reading a part, and as they read, they stop and communicate the thinking process that's going on while they're reading. Okay, and the reason the demonstrator is doing that is to show you, as a reader, the thought processes that you should pay attention to as you're going through reading. Okay, so then we looked at a website. What's the research? Metacognitive strategies can be taught, and they are associated with successful learning. So you can learn how to do this kind of thinking to help you be more successful in learning. Successful learners have a repertoire of strategies to select from and can transfer them to new settings. And here's the reason why I'm teaching reading in a biology class, okay? Because you're going to need to transfer these skills to your allied health program that you go on to be successful in, right? Nursing has a lot of reading. They can sometimes require you to read chapters upon chapters before you come to class. They expect you to read it, and they expect you to do comprehension of that reading, right? So you're going to need to figure out the strategies to help you understand what you're reading to be successful. Okay. Research has found that few college instructors explicitly teach strategies for monitoring learning. They assume that students have already learned these strategies in high school, but many have not and are unaware of the metacognitive process and its importance to learning. So this is one of the reasons why I really want to make this explicit. We're going to learn about how to increase your reading comprehension and your metacognitive skills, because that's going to help you with learning in this class and in other classes too. Rote memorization is the usual and often the only learning strategy employed by high school students when they enter college. And rote memorization will not help you in this class. There's very little in this class that you're going to need to memorize. What you are going to need is to understand and comprehend, getting to those higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy, right? And so that's one of the reasons why I always, in the beginning of a semester, want to demonstrate a think aloud. And then as we encounter difficult aspects of the texts, as we go through the semester, we can use the live class or we can use other opportunities to really break apart the text and figure out what it means and how to get to that level of understanding and comprehension. These are just a few of the metacognitive strategies that'll help you. But if you start to employ these as you're doing your reading, then they're going to help you to be more successful in your learning. And one of the reasons we're using Perusall, which is the website that's going to help you with conversations during your reading, is because having some conversations about these metacognitive strategies is one of the things that helps with that comprehension process. So if you wonder about something or you have a question about something, you can type that into Perusall. If you got confused about something or you're not sure of it, you can type that into Perusall. So the annotations that you're required to do in the conversations on the website will help with these metacognitive processes that will help you with deeper comprehension and understanding in the class.